Good morning, scholars. Today we are on lesson 9. As you can see, fractions are becoming a little bit more challenging for us. And so it's really important that you all continue to show tenacity right now and push through and just try your best, okay? I understand that it's getting a little bit more difficult, but you're still able to do this work. I'm very confident that you can figure it out as long as you really pay attention and work your brain to, think outside of the box. See if you can figure it out on your own. So let's get started with our application problem. It says Julianne's friendship bracelet had 8 beads. Remember, we want to go ahead and start drawing as soon as we read something, so we can make sure we're following along. So if there's a friendship bracelet, I'm going to draw circles to represent each bead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. When it broke, the beads fell off. She could only find one bead. To fix her bracelet, what fraction of the beads does she need to buy? So we know that her bracelet broke and she could only find one bead out of the 8 that she had. So let's go ahead and write the fractions inside of our circles. What fraction would we write? One bead would be what? 1 over 8. Okay, 1 over 8. Okay, so each of those have 1 over 8 on the inside. Okay, next it says what to fix her bracelet. Well, she can only find one bead. So let's say this is the one that she found. To fix her bracelet, what fraction of the beads does she need to buy? So to replace her bracelet and to make it look new again, what's the fraction of beads that she needs to buy? So you will finish your answer here and begin with the fraction of beads she needs to buy is okay. Here. The fraction of beads she needs to buy is, okay, and then you're going to finish that. So I started this problem, your application problem off for you, and you will need to find your answer and write your answer at the bottom, on your lines at the bottom. Okay. Next, let's go into our problem set. Very similar to last lesson. I am going to help give you, make sure you understand the directions and do an example for you, and the remainder you are expected to complete on your own. Okay, so it says each figure represents one whole. Fill in the chart. So let me explain to you how you read this chart. It says each figure represents one whole. So here I have 3 holes in the sample. I have, this is a whole, one whole figure. This is one whole figure, and this is one whole figure. Okay. So next, where it says unit fraction, what they want you to do here, what I want you to do, is tell me how many, one part of the whole, what would that fraction be? One part of the whole, not all 3 of these wholes, but one part. Just this one part here. What would be that unit fraction for this whole? It would be 1 over 2 because there's one shaded part. There'll be one part out of the 2 parts that are in the whole. Okay, so for an example, if I had a piece of paper like this and I had my circle, I had 2 circles split into thirds. This circle is one whole, this circle is the second whole. So there are 2 holes here. This is one whole circle, this is one whole circle. The unit form for this circle, if I'm just looking at one part of it, it would be 1 over what? 1 over 3. Okay, so I just want to know what the fraction would be for one piece of the whole. Okay, so that's why it's 1/2 or 1/2. Next, for the number of units shaded, so you're going back and looking at how many of these parts are shaded. So let's count. We have 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts, and this one was also shaded as 5 parts. Okay. Remember, each section is a unit. So we had to count how many of these individual units or these individual parts were shaded, and it's 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's why we have a 5 here. And then it says the fraction that's shaded. So how many halves are shaded? So we know halves are 2 parts. So that's why the 2 is at the bottom. Okay. So this 2 represents the number of parts in each whole. This whole has 2 parts, 1, 2. This whole has 2 parts, 1, 2. And this whole has 2 parts, 1, 2. Okay. So how many of these parts or these halves? This is a half, 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 this is a half. Each of these parts are halves because it's split into 2 parts. So the question is, what fraction of wholes or these halves, are shaded? You have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to put that over 2 because each whole has 2 parts. So it's 5 parts that are shaded. Okay, and over 2 parts that are each whole. So let's go through B. So first we have to count to see how many parts are in each of these holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 pieces in each figure. So we know that the number at the bottom is going to be 8. So the fraction is going to be, we know 8 is our number of parts. What would 1 part of this be? What would be that fraction? 1/8. Okay, because in each figure there are 8 pieces. That's why 8 is at the bottom. Just like up here, there were 2 parts in each whole. So 2 was at the bottom. Here, there are 8 parts to each whole. So 8 is at the bottom. If I shaded 1 part of this figure, it would be 1/8. Next, it's asking you to identify the total number of units shaded. So looking at all of these parts, both of these figures, how many parts are shaded? You have 1, well, this is a whole one that's shaded. All of this is shaded. So that's 8 pieces. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And over here, all of them are shaded but 1. So if I know it's 8 here, and it's the same thing over here except for 1 more, I'm going to subtract 1. Okay. Here I know there are 8 whole pieces shaded. Here there's 8 pieces shaded minus the 1 that's not shaded. That's 7. There's 7 shaded boxes here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the ones that are shaded. 8 plus 7 equals 15. So there are 15 units shaded. Next, you need the fraction that is shaded. So we know that these are 8. So 8 is still going to be our denominator. It's still going to be our number at the bottom. After that, how many are shaded? 15. So it's going to be 15/8. Okay. So you're going to complete C through F individually. Okay. Remember, the unit fraction is just what one of these units would be. Okay. And then the total number of units shaded. How many out of all of the figures are shaded? And after that, you're giving a fraction of the shaded unit. So how many are shaded? And you remember the same denominator that you have here is the same denominator you have here. Okay, there were 8 in each. There are 8 units in each whole. So therefore the denominator was 8. Okay. Let's see what the denominator. I will start you off here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts in each whole. So we already know here the denominator is going to be 6. Okay. So go ahead and take your time with this. If you are confused, make sure you go back and rewind. And let's move on to the next page when you are done. If you're not done, you can pause it here. We're about to move on to the last part of our problem set. So here, on this last page, you have 2 parts. Number 2 has 4 parts on its own. And number 3, it has 2 parts. Number 3 is a word problem. So first, let's go over number 2. It says estimate, which means it does not have to be 100% perfect, to draw and shade units on the fraction strips and solve. So let's look at the sample. The sample has 5/3. What 5/3 means, there is something that's cut into thirds. Okay, so you see this rectangle is cut into thirds. It has 3 pieces. This rectangle is cut into thirds. It has 3 pieces. 5/3 means that 5 of these units are shaded in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are shaded in. Okay, I know you can't see it, but if you follow along on your paper, you will see that each of these thirds is shaded in. Okay. So what you are doing is you are partitioning each of these rectangles to match whatever unit is given to you. Okay. After that, you're going to the first number, or the numerator, the top number on your fraction. That is how many of those units you're going to shade in. So let's do A together. So A is 6. So we're going to partition each of these rectangles into 6 different sections. Okay. So if you would like to follow along, you go ahead and do that. Remember, if you need six sections, you're going to draw 5 lines. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that should look somewhat equal. Okay. I'm going to go over with the pen so you can see it. You take your time and make sure your lines are correct and they look as equal as possible. Next, on the inside, you're going to draw the unit. So up here, you know that each section was thirds. Here, they are 6. So we're going to we'll write 1/6 in each box. Okay. So what we did so far is we know that our unit was 6. So we had to split each rectangle up into 6 parts. Okay, we had to partition them into 6 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, you have 8, 6. So you have to make sure you write your fraction. You know, 6 is going to be the denominator, the number at the bottom. What number is first? 8. So 8 is your numerator. That's telling you how many 6 you have shaded in. Okay. So next, we need, the last step is for us to shade. So we have 1. We're going to shade in 8 of them because 8 is our numerator. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. One thing that I want to bring to your attention here is one of these entire rectangles is shaded in. And so what you would do here, so the units are still 6, okay? Each part is 1/6. One thing I need you to understand is that even though this rectangle has been partitioned into 6, it's still one whole, because one whole rectangle is shaded in. So this is one whole. So let's imagine that this was a pizza split into 6 different slices. If Miss Breeden ate a slice, Miss Armorer ate a slice, Miss Avery ate a slice, Miss McDonald ate a slice, Miss Keck ate a slice, and Mr. Knight Justice ate a slice, this whole pizza would be gone. Even though there were 6 different parts, the whole pizza has been eaten because each person had a whole slice to themselves. Okay? So you have one whole, and what would be over here? 2. Would this be one whole? Was this whole pizza eaten? No, because Mr. Burns had a slice, and Miss Stroud came and had a slice. But now there are 4 slices left over. So could anyone guess on how you would write a fraction for this side? If this is one whole, all of these 6 were eaten. This side would be 2/6, or 2/6. Okay? So if this was a word problem and it said Miss Breeden bought 2 pizzas, each pizza, so these are my 2 pizzas, each pizza has 6 slices. This pizza has 6 slices. This pizza has 6 slices. Okay? 8 people came and ate a slice. That's one whole pizza, because that's 6 slices, and 2/6 of another pizza. Okay, how many slices of pizza does Miss Breeden have left? She has 4/6 of a pizza left, because there are 4 slices, and they are still split into 6 parts. Okay, it's just 4 of them are left. So you would say that Miss Breeden has 4/6 of a pizza left. If the question says how much of the pizza was eaten, one whole and 2/6 of the pizza was eaten. Okay, so I want you to understand where we're going with fractions. Now we're getting a little bit more rigorous with it, meaning it's becoming a little bit more challenging, but you can definitely do it. Okay, just remember that since there are 8 people who ate a piece of pizza, or whatever it is that's here, let's say 8 people ate a slice of pizza, that does not become eighths. Or because there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, these don't become twelfths. They're still partitioned into 6 parts, because 6 parts will equal a whole. 12 parts will equal 2 wholes. So that's why we would not call these twelfths. They're still 6, because whatever the whole would be, that is what the denominator or the unit is going to be. So going back to my circles that I drew, because I have 6 parts in there, I have 1, 2, 3, and let's see, 4, 5, 6 thirds in both of my circles. That doesn't change my units into 6. It's still thirds, because let's say if I shade in these, let's say this is a pizza that was eaten, and it's 4 thirds that have been eaten. I won't change that into 4/6, because 6 is not the whole. The thirds are the whole. So whatever number represents the amount that is partitioned in the whole, that is what your bottom number would be, and it will stay the same. You won't change it just because there's more pieces. Okay, so again, if I have 2 different figures and they're split into thirds, even if almost all of them are shaded in, the unit is still going to be thirds because the wholes are split into thirds. So if I have a square or two, let's say 3 squares. And each of these are partitioned into halves. Let's say that each of these is 1 gallon of milk. Okay, let's say that, so we know that half is half a gallon. If I shade in another part, if I drink both of these parts of milk, that means I drank 1 whole gallon of milk. And let's say I drank this too. So I drank 1 whole gallon of milk and then a half of a gallon of milk. How many gallons of milk did Miss Breeden drink? She drank 1.5 gallons. How many gallons of milk are left over? Miss Breeden has 1 whole gallon left, 1 whole gallon here, and 1/2 of a gallon left. So this is what Miss Breeden drank. I drank this whole one and half of this one. And then here I drank 1 whole, 1 whole and a half is left. Okay, so it's still over 2. But I have a big 1 here because 1 whole one was drank. Okay, it makes no sense for me to put 2 over 2. Okay, that still equals 1 whole. Both of these equal the same thing. Okay, so going back to your assignment, for B you have 7/4. I will help to start you off with these. Your fraction is going to be 7/4. Looking at C, they gave us the unit form. They want us to write it out. So 6/5 would be 6 what? Fifths. Okay. Here, 5/2. I'll let you complete that one on your own. 5/2, it would be blank. It's a little bit tricky. Blank over 2. And I'm going to give you a hint. You're not going to write 5 2s. Okay? When something is split, just like I had here with my gallons, if you have a whole and you split it in half, each of these are called something. They're not called 2s. Okay, so you should be able to figure that out. If you don't remember, rewind back to when where I discussed my gallons of milk. Okay, I used the word there that you should use. All right, scholars. Moving on, you have a word problem. It says, Mrs. Jollick baked 2 pans of brownies. Draw the pans. So you're going to draw your 2 pans of brownies and partition each pan into 8 equal pieces. So to start you off, you have 2 pans of brownies. Okay, and then it says estimate to partition each pan into 8 equal pieces. You can do that. You make 8 equal pieces in both of these. Remember, those will be eighths. As soon as you partition these into 8 pieces, there will be eighths. Okay. Part A says Miss Jollick's children gobbled up 10 pieces. Shade the amount that was eaten. So you need to shade how many pieces? Good, 10 pieces. And then part B says write a fraction to show how many pans of brownies her children ate. Okay, so then you're going to draw a fraction showing how many brownies her children ate. Remember that denominator should be however many parts it is that's in 1 whole. Okay. So the last thing that you are responsible for doing in this lesson is your exit ticket. This is what your exit ticket looks like. So this is similar to the first thing we do. As always, your exit tickets are aligned to your classwork. So it's asking, and don't get tricked here. Each of these are wholes. If they're individual or separate, they're wholes. Okay, so there are 4 holes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that shape is a little odd, but you put in the unit fraction. One of these would be how many? Blank over blank. How many units are shaded? What's the fraction that's shaded? And then here for number 2, it says estimate to draw and shade on the fraction strips. Okay, so it says 4/3. You need to make thirds here in each rectangle and shade in 4 of them. And here you need to write it out in word form what this fraction is, and you need to show it here. Okay, I am very confident that you all will be able to complete this. For tomorrow's lesson, you will complete the homework for this lesson, and Friday you will have your assessment. So good luck. Make sure you take your time, and please make sure you're getting on Zern so you can get that extra support with making sure that you understand fractions. I'll see you next week, scholars.